Hello citizens and welcome back. This week we're going to expand our mining knowledge and take the next step with the ATLS Geo and the Grey Cat ROC. I'm going to show you what equipment and ships you're going to need, what to look for, how to mine, and some common pitfalls you might encounter. As always, if you like this video, sacrifice a like and a comment to the YouTube algorithm and subscribe for more. And here's a shout out to my amazing patrons and channel members for their support of the channel and everything else I do. So let's start with the ships you're going to need. I would like to preface this by saying that any vehicle prices or availability is mentioned as it is at the time of writing. So if you're watching this video later, I recommend you double check either on uexcorp.space or finder.seastone.space. Of course, you're going to need your mining vehicle. The ROC is rentable at all refineries in Stanton and the gateway stations in Pyro, starting at a few thousand credits per day. Though in my opinion, you might as well buy it in-game right away, as the price is fairly reasonable at around 100,000 credits. The ROC-DC and the ATLS Geo cannot be rented at the time of writing, but I expect at least the ATLS Geo will become rentable sometime during the 4.2 patch cycle. However, both can be bought in-game for a reasonable price. The ATLS Geo for around 90,000 credits and the ROC-DC for about 140,000 credits. Now you might be asking, what is the difference between these three vehicles? The ATLS Geo is the smallest of the bunch. It offers the least cargo space but the best mobility and flexibility. It features thrusters so you can leap through the air with it, which is very useful for moving across difficult terrain. The mining laser can also be toggled between a low power mode suitable for small rocks found in caves and a high power mode suitable for larger rocks found on the surface. The ATLS Geo is my top recommendation once it becomes available for rent or if you have the credits to buy it. The other big advantage is that you can retrieve it with the cargo elevator, which saves a lot of time. The ROC is the OG of surface gem mining and it remains the favorite of many. It offers more cargo space than the ATLS, but it's less mobile. And it also suffers from the driving physics not being great in general. However, the rental availability and the price make it a good starting choice. But it requires a larger ship to carry. But we will get to that in a moment. The ROC-DC offers the most cargo space, but the least mobility. You also need a second person to operate it effectively. And it requires a fairly large ship to carry. Generally speaking, this is the vehicle I recommend the least. Next, what ship do you need to carry your mining vehicle? If you chose the ATLS or the ROC, my recommendation is the Cutlass Black, as it can be rented for a reasonable price and offers plenty of room for additional cargo. If you chose the ROC-DC, you will need a Constellation or a Freelancer Max. If you're unsure if the ship you have will fit the vehicle you're taking, I recommend you have a look at the ship vehicle compatibility tables on StarCitizen.Tool's website, which offers a comprehensive matrix of which vehicle fits into which ships. I will link that in the description. So what else should you bring? If you have extra cargo space, I recommend you bring spare ore pots for the vehicle of choice or a storage crate to store gems so you can mine for longer. There are some caveats with this that I will explain at the end. I also recommend that you bring the max lift tractor beam so you can move your vehicle if it gets stuck or you flip it over. And you might also need the multi-tool tractor beam to swap out ore pods. For gear, any armor will do, but make sure it is appropriate for the environment you're going into, since mining vehicles offer very little environmental protection. And as always, you should bring some food, water, and med pens just in case. Next, where to mine. Fortunately for you, surface gems are extremely common. You can find them on all planets and moons, and you don't even have to look in a special location. But if you want to make sure, you can go to regolith.rocks and have a look at the Survey Core, which shows mineable data gathered by actual players, and can help you choose a specific planet or moon in your area. The more important question is how to actually find the gems and how to stay safe while mining. A method that has worked for me is to quantum to one of the outposts on the surface. Pick a direction and fly at full nav speed for at least 5 minutes. This should get you far away from the outpost and generally far away from anyone. Then you need to get low to the surface and start scanning by pressing tab. Gem clusters show up in the scan return at a very short distance, so you want to start investigating any nearby returns. If you can't find anything, just keep flying in your direction of choice and scanning. I have also noticed that in scanning mode, gem clusters will show a very high scanner return number, so that might help you with identifying where to go. Once you find the cluster of gems, it's time to start mining. Land your ship in a suitable location. Make sure that the ramp properly touches the ground so you can drive in and out comfortably. Get into the vehicle and drive or walk it to the gem deposits. If you're using the ATLS Geo, you can make use of the thrusters to travel long distances quickly. Now let's take a look at the process of mining. First with the ATLS and then with the ROC. The ATLS is always ready to mine. All you need to do is get in and walk to the deposit. Over longer distances, I recommend using the jetpack boost. Once you're at the deposit, make sure you're in high power mode. You can switch power modes by pressing left Alt and 4. Low power mode is for small gem deposits found in caves. High power mode is for surface deposits. From here, the process is very similar to hand mining. You aim at the deposit, wait for the scanner to show you what it is and what the required power levels are. You can toggle the mining laser on and off by pressing the left mouse button. Now, while holding Alt, you can use the scroll wheel to adjust the laser power. Your goal is to keep the ROC power level in the green area until the bar fills up and the ROC cracks. If you overload the ROC by staying in the red for too long, it will explode and cause damage to you, as well as destroy much of the gems. Once the ROC cracks, it will split into multiple gems. To collect these, you have to switch to extraction mode. You can do this by pressing Alt and left clicking. Then press the left mouse button to enable the extraction laser. All you need to do now is hover over the gems and this will collect them. Repeat this until the cargo space is full. You can see the cargo capacity indicator at the bottom left of the mining UI. Also, I am using what I think are the default keybinds for everything, but the game will show you what your keybinds are in the lower right corner of the screen. Once the cargo space is full, you can replace the ore pod with an empty one to continue mining. To do so, get out of the ATLS and approach from the rear until you see the open prompt. This will open the rear part of the vehicle where you can access the ore pod. You can either open it and transfer the gems to your backpack and then transfer them to a container, or you can grab the ore pod and replace it with a fresh one. You don't need a tractor beam for this. You can store empty and full ore pods on the cargo grid, but you can also place them into storage crates by opening the crate while holding the ore pod in your hands. You can then drag the ore pod into the crate. My favorite approach is to bring a big crate and transfer the gems from the ore pod into the crate. That way I have a lot of capacity for gems and I don't have to buy and carry multiple ore pods. It also makes selling the gems a bit easier, but we will get to that in a moment. Now let's have a look at how to mine with the ROC. After driving up to the deposit, you have to switch to mining mode by pressing M. This will bring out the laser arm. The interface is exactly the same as the one on the ATLS. After the deposit is scanned, you will see information about contents and power levels. Make sure you're in fracture mode. To start mining, aim at the deposit and left click. While the laser is on, you can hold Alt and scroll to adjust laser power. Your goal is to keep the deposit power level in the green until the bar fills up. Once the deposit breaks, you can switch to extraction mode and collect the gems. You switch between fracture and extraction mode by holding Alt and pressing the left mouse button. One note for the ROC: at the time of writing, while extracting, you can have a few gems bounce off the mining arm and land somewhere behind the vehicle. So make sure to check the area behind you before you leave. Once the ore pod is full, you can either open it and transfer the gems to a crate manually, which is very time consuming, or you can swap it for an empty one. To do this, you have to unlock the vehicle sports by pressing right Alt and K. At the time of writing, there is no UI notification that this has happened. Then get out of the driver's seat, move towards the rear of the vehicle, and look for the deploy prompt. This will open the rear and allow you to remove the ore pod. This is currently only possible with the multi-tool tractor beam attachment. Ore pods snap to cargo grid so you can bring as many as you need. For the ROC-DS, the process is exactly the same, with the exception that you need a second person to operate the mining laser or you need to switch seats. Now let's talk about where to sell the gems you mined. You can sell gems at the admin office in all landing zones as well as all major space stations. But of course you should always check uxcorp.space for the latest prices and locations. Before you can sell the gems, there is one more thing you need to do, especially if you have been swapping out ore pods or transferring gems to a crate. At the time of writing, simply storing the ore pods or crates into the local inventory with the cargo elevator won't make the gems appear in the trading console. After lowering the crate or pod into the cargo elevator, in the cargo elevator terminal, you have to double-click the crate or pod to open it and then transfer the contents into the local inventory. This will make the gems appear in the trading console. To access the gems that are in the ore pod that's currently in your mining vehicle, you have to store it. You don't have to take it out of the ship. You can just store the ship with the vehicle on board. And that's all you need to know to get started. Now I'm going to talk about two more things. First of all, which gems should you focus on? I would be interested to hear the opinions of others in the comments. But I think given how easy it is to either transfer the gems or bring additional ore pods, you can just mine any gems you find. By bringing spare cargo capacity, either as spare ore pods or a storage crate, you can leverage the economies of scale and make more money. Next, which is better, the ATLS Geo or the ROC? I think this ultimately comes down to personal preference. But my recommendation right now is the ATLS Geo. While it offers less cargo space, it has a laser that can mine both small and large gem deposits. Also, it has better mobility compared to the ROC and the ROC-DS. It's also cheaper and requires a smaller ship to carry. It will even fit into the Drake cutter along with a 1 or 2 SCU crate depending on the cutter variant. And with that being said, that will be all for today. Feel free to post your questions and advice in the comments. Thank you for watching, fly safe, and I will see you in the verse.